you go to bed, you're a bit tired, you have been flying, and you wake up in the middle of the night, and since there is no windows, it is pitch black. And I mean, it's really, really black. And it's deafeningly silent because everything is totally insulated. You might think, have I died?
I'll do.
Bruno, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you for the time. But and I think we're going to have an interesting conversation. We're at Hotel With today.
Yeah.
And I guess just to frame, my interest in this and where I thought we could talk about really was this concept of guest experience within hotels. A lot of the people that in my audience are probably going to listen to this, work in commercial real estate, probably interested in offices,
purpose
buildings, exactly. At the moment, there's a lot of conversation around tenant experience. So there's a lot more thought about how we can develop offices with that human kind of centric design, with the user putting the user experience front and center. I thought, well, clearly you've been doing this in hotels for a long time.
Yeah, well, this particular property was being renovated back in 2015-16, and our owner thought that would put in a hotel at the cellar level, so it's no windows, and it's a way, of course, of increasing the revenue on square meter, and also as a service for the other tenants because there's a lot of high-tech companies in the building, so they usually have a lot of consultants. It's pre-COVID, of course. And coming in, and they need somewhere to stay, and so this hotel was conceptualized, and the thing is, in order to build it in a relatively short time during the time span, they decided to and also from a cost benefit point of view, all the rooms were manufactured in Finland. Actually 86 rooms out of 106 rooms, so it's most of the rooms were brought in here and actually moved into place and put on kind of small pillars on top of the floor. And there's a lot of benefits with that. Partly, of course, it's very quick because you can have an industrial production of the rooms, and also the fitting into the actual location is very convenient. And as an added benefit, you get isolation from sound, you get automatic fire cell building. So it means the fire department is very happy about this hotel because there is no way, or at least very, very difficult to get the fire to spread from one room to another, because every room is in its own fire cell, and of course every room has a sprinkler, so there's an added benefit to that. And also it gave us the opportunity to put in a lot of nice technology in the rooms, because we put in, of course, the multimedia system in every room. We have Wi-Fi, very high quality Wi-Fi. Every room has at least 120 megabit connection. And then, of course, having put in all these high-tech rooms with nice materials, high-quality fabric in all the furniture and stuff, we wanted also to make something very interesting for the guest. Since we have no windows, everything else need to be top-notch.
Right, exactly, yeah. So it's 106 rooms on the basement level.
Yeah, exactly.
And as you said, I think it's just a great example also of sweating the asset, essentially, haven't you, right? So there's multi-layered building here, so offices, some retail, restaurant, and now we have and obviously the hotel as well. Yeah.
So in order to have all this, then also we have a normal front desk, and since it was rather most of the companies are high-tech, new companies, modern companies, we also wanted to be very high-tech in our approach to the hotel. So we have a lot. I think we have almost 100 TV channels on our TVs. We have nice Wi-Fi. We have also self-check-in systems. And this is one of the things that we had the experience that we started with a lot of plan to have 3 or 4 self-check-in, because we thought people, they might just come and they just enter their name and they can make their own key and they just go down to the room. But from experience later on, we realized that when you actually check in, you like to speak to someone. Like actually you want to meet the person. So the front desk became very important. From the beginning we thought maybe it should be more like an automatic hotel kind of thing, high tech. But most guests, they want to speak. So even if they have the choice between going to the self-service check-in or go to the front desk, they tended to go to the check-in. So they met with our reception, which gave us an opportunity to provide a nice guest experience.
Yeah.
You can greet them, and as time went by, we actually reduced the number of self-check-ins. So now we only have one, and that is mostly used by regulars. We have a lot of regulars, almost 30% of between 20 and 30% normal weekdays and normal times are returning visitors.
Right. And that makes sense, right? Because I guess it's a lot
Exactly.
of the offices,
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
And once you have, if you fly from the States and you come here, and you have a meeting the next day, we're smack in the middle of city. You have rooms that are super quiet. They actually have studio quality. All our rooms are classified as studio class A or something, very, very high soundproofing. So if you fly in, you want to have one night's good sleep, come up in the morning, have your meeting, and possibly fly back to the States. So we have regulars that come maybe once a month or twice a month, and they have elected to use the hotel as their base in Stockholm. And they, of course, if they're in a hurry, they know the hotel, they know everything. They don't have to be informed about where the breakfast is and stuff. So they can use the self-check-in.
Yeah, it's interesting. That it's really about choice, isn't it? So you've got the one experience of like exactly the self check-in, but also if you want that more kind of personal experience, that's available as well. Yes. And actually, I think it's quite a unique check-in desk that you have, right? Because it's right by the coffee shop. Yeah. Almost integrated into...
It's integrated into the other... So we both have a coffee shop, restaurant, and a self-service supermarket or a quick shop. You can actually buy your meals or buy raw material. So it's a very... And also it's slightly different from a lot of other hotels because this is a normal restaurant. So weekdays they're open late and there's always people here. There's a pulse, there is life. And if you're... The most boring thing, I mean, you're probably aware of, if you go traveling for business somewhere to a new city and you end up in a hotel somewhere, even if it's a nice hotel, whatever, if you come in late at night at 11:30, it's kind of dead. Maybe the bar is open, there's some music in the background, but there's really no life. There's no normal, continuous buzz in the air. There's no people eating. There's no conversations going on. Here is always nice, and we have feedback because we regularly, of course, do feedback from our guests, and they say there that when they get here, they feel that they are inside the pulse of the life of the city, so they enjoy it. And then we come up in the morning, they have breakfast, and there is other people from outside coming and having breakfast. Also, people in the building that sometimes come down and have breakfast. So that's one of the experience things that you don't want to have. It's kind of boring if you go into a hotel and it's dead.
Right. So that communal area is truly communal.
It's truly
you've
communal.
Got people coming in shopping. You've got people from the offices.
Taking a coffee, meeting, having people with there's all kinds of business meeting, all kinds of age groups that come in here. Sometimes they have groups of people coming for lunch. Sometimes there are people just having coffee. So it's a inviting environment. Which is not always the case with hotels as such.
No, definitely not. No. And then you can see where we are here. Basically, we're on the basement level. So you come down these stairs behind us, enter the hotel. It's interesting then about, you've mentioned a bit about it, right? Each room. But I guess there must be some technical issues as well with being in a basement. Yes. Okay, and then how you get around that?
Well, I came into so I said the hotel started being planned in 2015, 2016, and I came in at the time when some of the rooms were actually in place, and they were starting looking at the technical challenges, like for instance your cell phone. Normally, when you go into the basement anywhere with a modern building with concrete and reinforced concrete, it dies. The signal dies. So normally you wouldn't have any coverage of your normal phone. So in that case, I helped them then to set up repeater transmitters from all the major operators. So we have excellent 4G reception everywhere inside the thing. So that's one of the things that we have to think about. That if you are going to develop and use areas that are normally not used, there are some issues you have to think about. Like you have to have reinforced transmissions of the 4G, and also the Wi-Fi, the same thing there. You need to set up a lot of Wi-Fi nodes to make sure that every room has a top-notch quality. Because that's also something that is a guest experience. if you're a guest in many places, you might, you get the Wi-Fi name and the password, and then you go to your room and you have maybe not that good, and then you call the front desk and they say, hey, you can switch it to another room. You have better reception. And so I said that I will not have that in this hotel. So we have something almost like 30 Wi-Fi nodes, high-speed nodes. So you can actually start looking at the Netflix film in your room. You can go out to the corridor, go all the way up to breakfast, and you can still watch the same thing. It's automatic handover between the different cell nodes. So this is also something you really have to think about, that you have a nice coverage of the Wi-Fi, and also no password. Because, and the people tell me, well, but if someone else comes in and just have a coffee and start using your Wi-Fi, I say, yeah, go ahead. But you will run out. No, I just get more bandwidth from the operator. Okay. And I said, well, if we have 1 gigabit, the odds are that it's never going to happen that we have that many people watching that much video at the same time that we will actually end up and using all the whole gigabit, right? And it's actually never happened, even though we had companies that are in the media industry renting the whole place and the restaurants and everything and having a lot of events going on. They've never run out of juice in the bandwidth section.
Right, and I mean, again, it ties into the experience. Like I've been in hotels where they now say, okay, well, you can only have 1 or 2 devices.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but again, like here,
everything you can add anything, and because today the cost, and it's also some hotels actually try to charge more. You have to pay more to get more megabit, or you have to pay less, and all of that just creates irritation. So when people come in and say, oh, what's the password? There is no password. You will find the SSID, it's hotel with. Just click on it and it will run. Oh, what about security? There is not a problem. Every single user, because the system we have isolates you from all the other ones, so no one can eavesdrop on anyone else or everything. So this is also a way of providing safety. And if there is really specific need, like we have sometimes lawyers and people doing legal stuff, they say that I need to have a wire, I need to have an Ethernet cable. I said, yeah, sir, in your room there's a Cat5 outlet, you can get 1 gigabit, your own cable, nothing over Wi-Fi. Okay. Oh, excellent, they said, because a lot of places don't have that.
So again, about choice.
You can have you can use your cable, you can use your Wi-Fi, it's your choice, and there's no problem.
And then, as we've already said, like we're on the basement level, no windows. Does that kind of almost mean that you've tried extra hard with the user experience? Has that made you work more on like the concept within each room? Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely true. I mean, we have one drawback, and that's the first sentence. A lot of the advertising we do, it says, "You will not be disturbed by sunlight when you wake up in the morning." So people actually are sure that they know that there is no window. So we have put a lot of effort in making the environment, like we have always exhibitions from the Fotografiska Museum, the museum here in Stockholm. So we have nice pictures on the wall. We have a custom-made carpet that actually is very, very custom-made for the corridor. So all the rooms and the colors actually are repeated in the carpets. The whole sound experience, also the inside the room, the bed linen, everything is really, really high quality, because if you have one thing that is not available, you make sure that everything else is top available. And our staff, of course, is our prime asset. I mean, the front desk is 24/7, except now with the COVID, of course, but normally it's 24/7, and means that you can call them and they can help you with almost anything. Everything from the normal services like taxi, but they can also help you find out stuff about Stockholm, where you need to go. So we have a very high service level. And if we also have customers or guests that come in and they expect to have visiting friends, we can help them to book a table at the restaurants. We can have deliveries being delivered to their room from DHL, and if they have stuff come, or sometimes we also have guest that needs to get some equipment in beforehand, so they actually have their stuff coming here, and then we have to wait. After a week they come, and then we have set up everything in the room. Same with the luggage. They can drop the luggage, and we'll help them and make sure that the luggage is in their room at the time when they check in. So it's really important to and we have noticed that this is one of the reasons that we only need to have one automatic station, because even though you're a regular, they like to go. They know if they're here once a month or twice a month for a year, they have become have personal relations with
they know the guys and girls that are behind the front desk. So they say, "Oh, hi, Oscar, how are you doing?" And you greet them back, and here's your coffee. They know that they need a coffee. All the regulars get free coffee, and this type of experience is it's a notch above the normal, even if they have regular customers in other hotels. Since as soon as one of them sees one of the regulars coming in, they provide a coffee for them, and when they get to the desk, they say, "I'll take your bag. Here's the coffee. Good luck with your meeting." And that's something that they really, really appreciate.
Absolutely. And I think you told me that the strap line for the hotel is lean luxury.
Lean luxury.
Yeah.
So it's a question of not luxury for the sake of luxury, but luxury for the sake of keeping your. The rooms are not huge. I mean, it's not like you have a extra room or extra sofas and tables and stuff. But that's not really important. The important thing is that whatever you have is of the highest quality, basically.
And that even extends as far as like the environmental controls as well, right?
Yeah.
So, like in terms of how do you handle things like the HVAC and
one of the major things that we, of course, when we started planning it was that what happens in the middle of the night, we have no windows. You go to bed, you're a bit tired, you have been flying, and you wake up in the middle of the night, and since there is no windows, it is pitch black. And I mean, it's really, really black. And it's deafeningly silent. Because everything is totally insulated. You might think, have I died? But people actually, so we figured out that it needs to be, and there is also some legal regulations, so you need to have a fluorescent kind of green thing that shows you where the door is. Emergency thing, yeah. And we don't want to have a light, so we have this thing that is actually charged by light. So it starts fading when it gets dark, but it's always slightly visible. But the thing is, as soon as you put your foot down from the bed, there's a sensor. So it lights up underneath the bed. It lights a LED list, so you can see the floor, because you might need to go to the bathroom. Mm-hmm. And if you wake up in the morning in the night and and then as soon as you move out your foot and you put it on the floor, you will light up this thing and you will see that's the bed, that's the bathroom, and I can go this way and I go back. And then when you go back to bed, it automatically after 2 minutes shuts off. So you don't even have to look for any light switches or anything. You can, of course, as soon as you put your foot down, you can see the light switch on the side of the bed. You can turn it on. But when you wake up and if you have been traveling, you are tired. So you might actually not, be able to focus where you are. But as soon as you put your foot down, you will be able to orient yourself.
And a good example of attention to detail.
Yeah. So it's and there is all the lights are dimmable, so you can actually have reading lights or a softer light if you want to do some late night reading. The TV, as I said, we have many channels in many languages, different languages. There is also a multimedia system by which you could use your phone and you can cast your videos or pictures you have been taking during the day, maybe, and look at it. There's some information on what's happening in the hotel, when the times for the breakfast and things like that. So and all of these things, of course, needs to be taken care of. Another thing that people will start saying, well, it's in the cellar, maybe security, but people feel comfortable going down, and it's no windows, and you go long corridors. We have 3 long corridors, and from a security point of view, if you're a bit scared or afraid, or you don't really know, and there are thick doors, if someone knocks on the door, do you really know who it is and why it is? So we put up, of course, surveillance CCTV in all the corridors.
Right, yeah, of course. Yeah.
So in the reception, we can see what's happening in the corridors, if there's something going on, if someone actually came home a bit late and maybe had a drink or two too many and might not be able to find his room or things like that. And then we can help them down. We can go down and sort things out.
And there's access control, of course.
Yeah, of course. We have with the card,
based.
yeah. So it's a card-based access control, and the card system is also, this is one of the reasons we can have self-check-in. And also as a contrast to experience point of view is that normally when you have self-check-in, because there are other self-check-ins, you need normally to have an electronic ticket number or voucher number or something to actually be able to log in.
Like a
booking reference or things. And you might not have that. And even your phone, they say, well, I have it in my phone, but it died in the flight. So you get into the hotel and you can't get hold of your number. But in our system, you just have to put in your first name and the second name. And then, of course, the manufacturers of the booking system says, but Bruno, we can't do that, because what if 2 Anders Andersson comes in and they have both booked? And so if that happens, you just put up and say, please go to the front desk. And I promise you, if it happens more than once a year, I will buy you a cake. And of course, it's never happened. It's never happened that you actually have two with the same name booking the same day. It's highly unlikely. Yeah. But then so I said, you have to fix it in your system that if there are two, please just put up a sign, go to the front desk. And otherwise they thought it was a brilliant idea. I think we can sell this to other hotels. Of course you can, because it's self-evident. You as a technology person, you think of we have the reference number. I think of the guest experience. What do I know? I know my first name, I know my second, my family name. Oh, so I put it in. If I get my room number, I would think it's really nice. So it's been a good experience, and people really like that when they do that.
Mentioned as well about, and again, this is something that's a hot topic at the moment, air quality, for obvious reasons with COVID. That's something you take quite seriously here as well.
Especially, I mean, and we were lucky in the way that we built the rooms, as I said, pre-built rooms, and they are shipped here. It means that every room has its own kind of ventilation system, and it's connected to the central ventilation system, which is of a very, very high quality. And as I said before, we have no windows, so we make sure everything else is absolutely top-notch. So in our case, we have no communication between the rooms, so it's not kind of a shared air going around in the rooms. So the air actually comes from the roof, and it's sucked down, and it's used it's filtered, highly filtered, and then it's put out into the rooms. And the exhaust, when we suck out the used air, it goes up, so there's no mixing of air, so it's a very, very high air quality. And this is something that we did just because we wanted to have a good guest experience. Now it's, of course, an added benefit that we can tell our guests that there's no mixing of air or any type of stuff. So it's very, very high quality of air. And also the turnaround rate of the air quality, I mean, it's being replenished many more times than the legal requirements. So it's always fresh air, and we have a thermostat so you can set your own temperature in the room. So it's really very individual as well.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, and do you do anything with like on a mobile level as well? Do you have?
This is also one of the we planned when we started to have maybe our own app. Everyone wanted to have their own apps in 2010. There was a big rush for apps, and I said, no, hang on. From a user experience point of view, if I say, well, what does it entitle? It entitles that the guest must download, go into the app store, whatever, if it's Android or iOS, download an app, and then in the app you can actually get, maybe you can have your key, and I asked why. Well, it's convenient. Well, could it be more convenient than go to a machine, type in your first and last name, and then you can go to your room? Oh, but with an app, you can actually you don't even have to do that. You can go to the room and just hold your phone up, and it will open the door. Yeah, but what happens if it doesn't work? Then you still have to go up, and I promise you, it will not work 100%. The only thing that works 100% is I know my name, I know my second name. Everything else involving technology will have hiccups. Even if this is one of the reasons that I don't want to have a password. And I said, why don't you want to have a password? Because about 1.5 to 2% of all the phones in the world are probably old enough to have the wrong Ethernet stack in the bottom, so they will have problems. Like there are some very old LG telephones, and if a client comes in with guest comes in with that phone, and he can't log in because the password system doesn't work, or it drops out after 13 minutes, like it sometimes does. So the whole is an issue of technology as well. So we cannot guarantee that it works for 100% of all the phones. But if you have no password, then it will work 100%. If the phone has Wi-Fi, it will work.
Some great point there about like mobile apps. Like I think almost, especially now, right, 2021, like there is app fatigue. I think is like a real thing now. You know, and if I feel it sometimes. You don't always want to have to invest in more retail space in your phone for another app, right?
And the best thing is that with the normal modern web browsers, you can do everything, almost everything, with web browser and a responsive website that is made for the size of the screen. There's very, very few occasions. I have a lot of clients that have different needs, and they always say, well, I have a special need. I need to have a local database stored in the phone. Well, you can do that with a normal web page, because even a normal web can nowadays ask the phone to store some data. So you don't need to have a specific app for it. So there are some specific cases when there is a benefit of having an app, but today I would say for 90% of all the users, especially for this type of hospitality type things, and if you want to be a customer experience thing, it probably creates more problems and has less benefit to use an app than instead doing a very nice website that is graphically perfect for a phone size. If you do that right, you will have a lot less maintenance costs, because to maintain an app with every generation of operating system for all the machines and the phones, you will have to remake or recode your app. But with a web page, it's a web page, and you can use it both for the screen and for the large screen and for the small
responsive.
screen. Yeah, it's automatically responsive. So it's you can put more money in the content of the experience rather than having to work out all the technical kinks in the different app types.
And what type of feedback do you get? I mean, you obviously do collect that, right? Customer feedback. I mean, what do they tell you about, you know, what works, what they like, what perhaps they don't like?
Well, the clearest thing that came out after we started opened the hotel and we started getting the first feedbacks, of course, to our surprise, or not surprise, but I mean, we were intrigued that the personal experience, the actual people interaction on the front desk was the thing that they enjoyed the most. And of course, then it started with nice linen, super quiet rooms. They really appreciate, especially people that have, you know, sometimes difficulty falling asleep. And if you go to a room that is so quiet, so you can almost... Actually, one guest came up and said, well, I really don't like that. Your rooms are too quiet. I can hear my own pulse. I can hear my heartbeat. And I can't fall asleep because I can hear my heart. Do you have a noise generator? And I told her, yeah, sure, I can help you. So I put in a noise generator on the phone with a speaker, so you can put it on the floor, and it gives you a slight, you know, kind of noisy, like in the background. And say, oh, that's great, because, you know, it's so quiet. When I lay down, I can hear do-dum, do-dum. And I thought, what's that? And then I realized it's my heart. I was like, yeah, I'm sorry about that. It's a bit quiet, yes, but we can fix that. It's a nice noise thing. So these things are really appreciated. And also simple things like the breakfast buffet, which is kudos to Urban Deli. The restaurant part here makes a very, very nice buffet. And this is also something that since it's a very nice environment, a normal traditional hotel buffet is more or less, well, we have to provide something to eat for the guests in the morning. So we just put up a big table and we have some stuff here. But since this is a restaurant and they're used to giving the customer an experience, so they make an effort to make sure that it's really nice and enticing, and it looks, and also other people are from outside coming in having breakfast, because so it becomes more of a true restaurant experience.
Yeah, and it's like a symbiotic relationship there as well. You're providing them with customer,
yes,
and like, you know, obviously, I mean, it's a well-known restaurant here in Stockholm, and like it's got a good reputation. And
also the guests here say, well, I might just as well have some of my business colleagues having a dinner here at night, because it's very convenient for me, because I go down and sleep when I finish and I fly home in the morning. It's perfect. So it's a good. So since they also focus very much on environment and on guest experience, and this is also our thing, we have a very good collaboration.
I guess also one question I'm interested in, like if you were to say, you know, a couple of things, 3 things to, you know, someone who operates an office building, what would be your advice to them about tenant experience? How can they improve, you know, the experience of people that are using that environment?
Well, if possible, there are 2 choices you can make here. You can either try to provide as much technology as possible to make a tenant happy. This is one thing, but I think most important is provide them with interactive actual person. Like here, for instance, all the tenants here have a receptionist down at the ground level here. So when people come in and they are supposed to go to floor 5, floor 8 or whatever, they meet the company, and they're not really sure where to go, whatever. There is a receptionist and says, I'm meeting someone at this and this company, and say, you go down there, take the elevator up to the 3rd floor. These type of things, it sounds very simple, but it's a crucial positive experience for the tenants, because they know that when guests are coming to them, they're always greeted with someone that is helpful and smiling. And then it's of course always nice to have nice signage system that does automatically updates for the conference rooms and stuff like that. But that's more kind of like hygiene factor. You have to make sure that your technology not only is good, but you can have top-notch things that are too complicated to use. Like for instance, we started here to have a very complicated booking system for the conference rooms. You have to almost be an engineer to be able to find out we have to go into a website and you have to find out where. And instead we said, well, we'll scrap all that. You just call the reception and say, could you book 45? And she books it, it's fine.
That's really interesting.
Because sometimes you overcomplicate things by doing it what you think is effective and automatic.
What would happen in a situation where does the desk reception closes at some point? If they wanted to book a meeting room in night, is there an alternative?
Well, we can always send a mail, and of course there is also communication possible with mail and SMS. Or in our case, we have for the hotel guests and also our services, it's 24/7. So it's a night. So there's not a problem. But from a tenant and building perspective, probably you can have an automatic system, but you would find out sooner or later that people will still call a receptionist. The same thing with our check-in thing. We had 4 check-in stations, and then we found out we only need 1, because 3 out of 4 people that came in still went to the front desk because they want to have this human interaction. Right? So that's one thing. Make sure that the technology you have should be the top technology, but it could also be easy to use, and try to provide human interaction into your business model.
Into that mix,
into
right?
mix.
Yeah, so it's technology where it adds value.
Yeah.
With that kind of
human interaction
experience as well. Yeah, no, I think it's fascinating. And as I said, I think whilst it's becoming a more of an not issue, but like a topic, right, within commercial real estate, I think people shouldn't forget that exactly it needs to be a mix of things if they really want to truly think about the user experience. Some of this is driven by cost, right?
Of course. I mean, like for instance, you can also think, we have been discussing whether it could possibly have an automatic dispensary system for ready-made salads. So let's for instance, the restaurant closes, of course, because it's not like the reception for the hotel is 24/7, but the restaurant closes. And maybe we should have some kind of automated system with a refrigerated area where you have 10 or 15 salads. If you come in late at night, you might be able to say, well, I'd like the salad. So then the receptionist at our hotel could say, well, go to the system and just press number 14 and I'll put it up on your tab. That could be one way to do things, and so there are things that you could possibly develop and get an even better user experience.
Yeah, and also an opportunity to upsell as well.
Upsell,
yeah, no, it's great, and I've seen that in a few offices as well. Like they've companies starting to
in the office area, they have
provide like
beverages and light snacks.
Which I think is adds a lot of value. Even small things like offering a really good cup of coffee.
Yeah,
it sounds small, but
there is one thing that we are doing now in the hotel. We are actually providing to the people in the house massage. We have one of the rooms being converted for a masseuse, and you can book at our front desk. Because if you work in these, especially with high-tech companies, they sit at the desks and they do a lot of working, and they get, shoulders are sore or whatever, and then they know, I can just go down to and book, half an hour, 45 minutes neck massage. They come down here. So we have actually been able during COVID times to get some revenue for some of the rooms because they are converted to medical with medical bed, and you can actually do that massage.
Yeah, like a good example of adapting to the situation.
Exactly.
No, I think it's fascinating. Really appreciate you taking the time today. Yeah, fascinating, and obviously we wish you well with this project, and I'm sure it's going to continue to be
more hotels, open more.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks again.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers.